From Space Launch Complex 1 at the Kerbal Space Center, the Realistic Design Bureau is proud to bring you live Delta IV launch coverage. Today at Space Launch Complex 1, a Delta IV rocket is fueled and ready to launch. KDRS 2, the second Kerbal Data Relay satellite in the Kerbal Space Agency, for the Kerbal Space Agency. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, ignition, and liftoff of the Realistic Design Bureau Delta IV rocket, carrying KDRS B, the second Kerbal Data Relay satellite in the Kerbal Data Relay satellite constellation. Delta IV engine rates look good. Climb rates are nominal. Delta IV now approaching 1/5. Delta IV is through the speed of approaching the speed of sound, and the Delta IV is through the speed of sound. Standing by for booster engine standing by for solid rocket motor jettison. That should be occurring momentarily. Downrange distance 1 kilometer. Altitude now 8 kilometers. We have solid rocket motor cutoff. Separation on the first two. Good separation on all 4 solids. Delta IV continuing to travel downrange. Downrange distance now 6 kilometers. Downrange distance approaching 10 kilometers. Altitude 21 kilometers. Velocity 720 meters per second. Going into the partial throttle phase. The Delta IV has entered the partial thrust phase. Velocity approaching 1 kilometer per second. Altitude 34 kilometers. Velocity now 1.1 kilometers per second. And satellite toolkit mode has been engaged. Spacecraft is performing as expected while it travels downrange. Velocity now 1.2 kilometers per second. Altitude 45 kilometers. Traveling at Mach 3. Spacecraft is performing as expected. Altitude now 53 kilometers, velocity 1.4 kilometers per second. Spacecraft is entering throttle up. And throttle has been reactivated to 100% thrust on the common booster core. Downrange distance now approach 60 kilometers. Altitude 59 kilometers. Altitude now 60 kilometers. Downrange distance 70 kilometers. Spacecraft is performing as expected. Standing by for Miko. Standing by for Miko. Miko? Separation and good ignition on the RL-10. The second stage engine has powered up. Standing by for payload fairing jettison. And we have a good payload fairing jettison. Good communications antenna deploy. Good solar wings deploy. Reorientation for the coast phase is beginning. We should remain within communications through the coasting phase up to apoapsis. This coasting phase will last 23 minutes in-game time. We're at T plus 2 minutes 55 seconds in-game time after liftoff. Altitude 560 kilometers, downrange distance 1,000 kilometers. Standing by for the circularization burn. Circularization burn will be in progress shortly. The two solar wings are generating power from Kerbal. RL-10B is burning as expected. Nominal burn on the RL-10. Standing by for second stage shutdown. And we have shutdown, good shutdown on the second stage. Spacecraft is now into the coasting phase. Standing by for maneuver node execution in -1 minute, 29 seconds. We have an antenna pointing at KDRS A. This is the second satellite in the KDRS series, and will be standing by as we prepare to initiate the coasting phase. As we prepare to initiate the second stage burn in -1 minute 11 seconds. Standing by for ignition in -1 minute. Altitude 768 kilometers. Standing by for ignition of the second stage. We should have second stage engine power up in about -47 seconds. The second stage will also perform the orbital circularization burn at 2868 kilometers. -32 seconds to parry to the burn. Standing by for engine ignition. T-22 seconds to the burn. Engine ignition should occur when the engine starts to power up. Standing by for engine ignition. Velocity 1.6 kilometers per second. We have engine ignition. Good ignition on the second stage. Second stage engine powering up for the second time. Burn remaining 6 seconds. Approaching geosynchronous altitude. Standing by to initiate the circularization burn. The coasting phase up to circularization is now underway. Communications is not expected to be interfered by the planet at this point. Spacecraft has been reoriented and is now into the coasting phase. Communications is not expected to be disrupted at this time. And KDRS 2 should be in orbit shortly. The second Kerbal Data Relay satellite will achieve a circular geosynchronous orbit above Kerbin. Altitude 2,867 kilometers. Standing by for engine ignition. Good ignition. We tweaked this realistic design bureau tweaked the thrust in order to make sure that the spacecraft enters a good orbit. The thrust was limited to below half thrust. Orbital velocity now 960 meters per second. Achieving an orbit in a geosynchronous position above Kerbin. Shut down. And SEP. Good separation on KDRS 2. And the second stage is beginning the reorientation process for the deorbit burn. Negative on that. KDRS 2 is now on orbit. In a geosynchronous position at a latitude of 0.1 degrees and 129 degrees. KDRS 2 is the latest in the geosynchronous satellite constellation. And KDRS 2 is on orbit. And that will end our mission coverage for the Realistic Design Bureau.